have only one line. Sometimes we think, no, I'm not very old. Let me, let me start journey when I'm 60, when I'm 60, 70. No. We started a program in University of Toledo, and Prasad is very sincere actually. Has been attending this program. He came to experience the temple environment this weekend. He just got a phone call from India saying, hey, your brother passed away. You know? So he's actually today evening is flying back to India. Thank you for offering prayers to the departed soul, but it's a wake up call for all of us actually. So, because we do not know what's going to happen. What comes with us? Career, family, bank account.
Prabhu can help. I'll get an harmonium for you.
Okay. And this could be pushed back.
Yes,
I can read it.
yes.
What is not there? The second one is not there.
Should I put the harmonium on this position?
So my request to all of you, take it
Prabhu help karjo na.
And today we are very fortunate to have
Yes.
His Grace Kalakanta Prabhu. Kalakanta which is express our gratitude to Kalakanta Prabhu for his divine presence. By loudly chanting the name Haribol. Is also spoken by Maharaj Yudhishthira when he saw Vidur. So, you keep Krishna in your heart, His feet in your heart, and you travel everywhere. Wherever you go, that place becomes a holy place of pilgrimage. So, Kalakanta Prabhu, just listen to his introduction. At the age of 18, just give me 1 minute. In 1972, at the age of 18-year-old, at the age of 18, Kalakanta Prabhu joined us full-time in Portland, Oregon. How many of us have the guts to join full-time at the age of 18, giving up career? So I joined full-time at the age of 18, and in 1973, Srila Prabhupada accepted him as a disciple, after giving him first and second initiations. For the next 4 years, he distributed Srila Prabhupada books to academic libraries throughout the North America and Europe. After Srila Prabhupada's departure, Kalakanta Prabhu served as a Bhakta leader, temple president, teacher, and temple consultant. In 2008, he established the Krishna House, / Bhakti Academy in Gainesville, a Bhakti immersion ashram that has to date attracted over 350 students. Actually, I'll stop here and I'll add my two sentences here. ISKCON is attracting only Indians, Hindus, but the Americans, who are flooding the ashrams are not seen anymore. 98% of temples are filled with Indians. So what he thought, let me do some search to Prabhupada, and he started this. And I encourage all of you to go to Gainesville to see what's happening there. He has 4 buildings filled with Americans, young American students. He has a Prasad in the Street program that on daily basis attracts 600 to 1200 students. All Americans are, no? So this Krishna's program is started only to attract locals. Probably Kalakanta is the most successful spiritual master devotee on American soil. He is very successful in that regard. In turn, these devotees have already distributed over 1 million of Srila Prabhupada books in North America. Today, Kalakanta Prabhu helps establish new Krishna's projects around North America. Kalakanta Prabhu and his family maintain an 8-acre farm in Florida, growing food and protecting cows. He's the author of 8 books, including the first 8 point translations of Sharanagati Vishnu Bhakti Thakur. Provisionally. Srila Prabhupada has blessed my life with Krishna consciousness, and I do my best to share His divine graces blessings with all others. So, today is a spiritual master in ISKCON also, initiated today. And besides what I read, she is a spiritual master, and very humble and very accessible. You know, very accessible to anyone of us. So we should invite him again and again. We should say this louder, million times louder, so that we come again and again. Thank you.
Thank you, Kishore Prabhu. Could I just make one clarification? Krishna House is for young people primarily. It doesn't matter what is their background. Indian, Western, everybody is welcome. One of the principles is Samadarshana. We're very happy to have many students, graduate students at the University of Florida from India who have stayed there and completed their degrees. One of them is now the temple president there, Sri Sagar. So, well, this is a real pleasure to be here, and so I was so pleased to see what all of you have accomplished in this. Was this a former bank building?
Yes.
You would not recognize it. Yes, but we have this big challenge that Srila Prabhupada gave us to make Krishna consciousness relevant for people, not only in the West, but all over the world. Srila Prabhupada, for many years, tried to introduce in India, and there was not much response. So when he came to the West, he found that he wanted to get the educated people, but he got hippies. But the temples today are full of highly skilled professionals, well-established people like yourselves, who appreciate the value of Prabhupada's gift, just innately. And therefore, it's very easy for you to appreciate. Our challenge for the Westerners is that people who are established in their careers and educated and so forth, find that they have so much to give up. And often, even if one partner is interested, the spouse is not. So that's why our focus is on young people. Youth is the time for spiritual education. And in youth, people are a little more flexible. Even if they're attending college, after college, they can take a gap year and help with the Prabhupada's movement, get these wonderful adventures of serving as brahmacharis, book distributors, like this. We also have found very important in the West is equanimity for genders. Often the temples will open a brahmachari ashram, but not for brahmacharini. If there is even such a thing, very rarely brahmachari. But in the West, it's a whole different thing. So young men, young women get equal opportunity, equal facility. And we preach to them that you are here to make a relationship with Krishna. So many relationships outside you can do anytime. But here you come for a relationship with Krishna. So in this way, they can remain chaste and yet in a co-educational environment. So these are the things that have worked for the Krishna House in Gainesville and now in Toronto, Dallas, over here in Grand Rapids. Shamananda Prabhu is doing a very nice job there. I don't know if you heard, but they have contracted to buy a church in Grand Rapids, a church which has a temple room which is 3 times as big as this one. More than applause, we need prayers that they can somehow fill it up. But it was so, just briefly to tell you the story, it's a very choice piece of commercial property. And the devotees were looking at it and say, well, it's already being sold to a car wash. They're going to tear down the church and put a car wash in this very prime corner. But then the city council said, no, this is the first church in our city, we want this to stay. And so then the church had to sell it to the devotees who were just there ready to buy. about 20% of the cost of regular commercial property. So here he is now, Shamananda Prabhu.
Haribol!
So our goal, we work together for this purpose. How can we attract young people to Krishna consciousness? When Srila Prabhupada visited Gainesville, he came just one time, one day, 1971. And he was giving a class at the temple, and a reporter was there and asked this challenging question: how come there are only young people here at your temple? And Srila Prabhupada said, why are there only young people at your university? Youth is the time for education. I think Srila Prabhupada would be very proud today to see the temples full of highly skilled, educated professionals who have solid families and are making such a contribution to society and to ISKCON. So our goal is to proliferate on this level and reach people of all backgrounds and all ages to share this wonderful movement. Prabhupada ki jai. So today, I'm going to share with you part of our effort to reach a broader audience is to bring some of the traditional bhajans and prayers into accessible English. I did not realize, I have to admit, I've been singing bhajans in ISKCON for 50 plus years, having a vague idea of the meaning, since I don't speak Bengali or Sanskrit. But I ignorantly thought, okay, well, everybody from India, they know what is being said. How many here speak Bengali? Okay, well, I proved my point. do you understand the bhajans when we're singing them? Maybe a sukha here and a dukkha there. So anyway, this is an attempt to make these more accessible to all of us, really. So we'll sing this beautiful bhajan by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, this beautiful prayer. We need a madanga and kartal player. Where else?
Madanga is here.
I think Shamananda might be our most experienced. Oh, okay. Oh, right, in front of me. Okay. So we're going to play a very slow and steady beat through this, and we'll sing these prayers, which I'm sure many of you know. How many are familiar with ISKCON? Okay, so we'll sing them in Sanskrit responsibly, for those who don't know them, and then in English also responsibly. Is that okay? Okay, let's see how this goes. Can everyone see all right? Oh, here's a little, this is the Polish Shruti. We're doing it first instead of last. Prabhura Shikshasta Kashlok Ye Pade Shune Krishna Prema Bhakti Tare Pade Dine Dine. If anyone recites or hears these 8 verses of instruction by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, his ecstatic love and devotion for Krishna will increase day by day. Cleansing the mirror of consciousness. Cleansing the mirror of consciousness. Now sing the fire of birth and death. Fortune's lotus like moonbeams glow. Fertilizing the juice we grow. Oceans of tears on bliss. Fill each step with the taste we miss. Bathing spirits for everyone. Glory to Shri Krishna Sankirtan. Namo Dhanita Sarva Shakti. Tatvarpita Niyamita Smarane Naprava. Tatvishi Tadapripa Bhagavan Brahmaki. Tatvishi Tadapripa My Lord, you have more things than anyone could ever say. You empower everything to bless us every way. You let us chant at any hour, circumstance or place. Yet I am so unfortunate, I still don't have a taste. Srimati Suritena Prabhati Surisuna Manina Mana Yasudari. One who chants is a humble and keeps the tolerance at the truth. A temperance formation. Dance in your name. Students, no more applause. No vested interest for me, my Lord. Every word I hope and pray. I am your servant, and yet I fell into the sea of birth and death. Only your causeless mercy is with me. And the dust upon your lotus feet. I am the God of Shuddharaya. When will a shower of tears fill my eyes? Will my bodily hair start to rise? Will my voice and my throat be strained? Will ecstasy chant your name? You got your tongue, and they say now. She's got a bright shining tongue. Your God is our moments like 1,000 years. My eyes begin to flood with tears. The cosmos is happy. Krishna passed the way to his lotus feet. Krishna trembled, go away from me. Away like a man who cheats on his wife. Krishna shall remain my life. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare So, Yugo Kishore Prabhu has asked me to take a few minutes and discuss one of the verses from the ISKCON, the third verse. Those who know it, let's say it together. Trinadapi Sunijena, Taror Api Sahishnuna, Amanena, Manadena, Kirtaniya, Sadapari. One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw on the street. One should be ready to offer all respects to others and not want any respect for oneself. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. When he was in Gainesville, Srila Prabhupada went one evening to the local TV station for an interview. When he came, it was late at night, there was no one in the parking lot. So his driver pulled up and parked in one of the handicapped spaces, do not park. No one else was there, it was late at night. But Prabhupada said, no, do not park, move over. So when he went in, the interviewer asked him a very interesting question. How do we tell you're a true follower? So Srila Prabhupada could have answered that question in many ways. My true follower chants Hare Krishna. My true follower has a bald head. Somebody has to do the thinking in my family. My true follower distributes my books. But Srila Prabhupada said something interesting. Anyone know what he said? What? My true follower is a perfect gentleman. My true follower is a perfect gentleman, perfect lady or gentleman. What does that mean, to be a perfect gentleman? So that is capsulized and captured in this verse by Lord Chaitanya. One who is feels very humble. So just humility is not a matter of thinking less of oneself, but rather thinking of oneself less. To think of oneself less means that we think of whom? We think of Krishna and we think of others. Yes, we think of others, whether it's at the temple or in the workplace. We put others' needs and interests ahead of our own. That's actual humility. Sometimes we have a kind of superficial idea of humility. Have you ever seen two devotees converge at the door? And one devotee says, oh, please, Prabhu, you go first. No, Prabhu, you first. No, Prabhu, please, I insist, you first. Prabhu. So you want to know the secret? The secret is whoever goes first is the most humble. They say, you go first? Okay, you told me, I go first. I go first. Anyway, the point is that humility goes much deeper than the namaskar. It means to put others' interests ahead of our own. This is very easy for parents, particularly mothers. Automatically, the child's interest becomes our overriding interest. And this is why Srila Prabhupada said that the love of a mother for her child is the closest thing to love of Godhead that exists in this world. So humility is manifest not in external actions as much as in our mood towards others. Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes that when we see a devotee, we should feel happy. If we don't feel happy, that's an aparat. So sometimes when we're working together in Krishna service, do you ever feel unhappy seeing somebody at the temple? That ever happened to anybody? It's because having to work together is part of the purification of Krishna consciousness. Have you ever seen anyone ever seen a rock polishing machine? You've seen, yes? So you take some rough rocks, put them in, it's a centrifuge. They grind, and when you finish, you open it, and they're all round and smooth and shiny, right? That's what it's like to be in the association of devotees. All the little crags and nooks of our false ego are going to get chipped off in the company of others. What is the blessing Lord Chaitanya gives? If we are humble, if we are patient, if we are tolerant, and most importantly, if we are ready to offer respects to others, not wanting any respect for ourselves, what is the blessing? We can chant the holy name constantly. Such a person can chant constantly. So What does that mean? Chanting constantly. It doesn't mean doing nothing else all day, but it does mean giving some dedicated time to chanting every day, ideally in the morning, before the modes of nature really kick in. Before the sunrise is the auspicious time to chant. Whatever you like to do, you do it best in those hours, right? It's like the mode of goodness hours are from 2 a.m. until 10 a.m. From 10 a.m. till 6 p.m. is what? Mode of passion. And then from 6 p.m. until 2 a.m., mode of ignorance, right? So whatever we do from 2 a.m. to 10 a.m., we do best. For example, if you have to study, the best time to study is in the early morning after a good night's sleep, isn't it? The mind is so much more clear. Chanting is so much easier to do at that time before there's distractions. If you like to write, that's a great time to write. And if you like to sleep, it's a great time to sleep also. Whatever you like best, whatever you do there, you'll do best. So in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Yanisha Sarva Bhutanam, that what is time of awakening for the sages is nighttime for the common man. And the time of awakening for the common man is nighttime for the introspective sage. So this ability to chant constantly is enhanced if we invest the most precious hours of our day in chanting, at least some part, 1 round, 2 rounds, 10 rounds, 16 rounds, whatever you're chanting, early in the day. Then, throughout the day, Hare Krishna will be in the background, just like music on the elevator. It's playing in the background. The ability to chant constantly means that, first of all, we're prepared, like Jugal Kishore Prabhu was saying, this time of death, Kamala Dala Jala Jivana Dala Mala, at any moment, we are going to plop right off the comfortable position we think will last so long. Any moment. But that's just an ancillary benefit. The main benefit is if we're thinking of Krishna, we will appreciate other devotees. We'll appreciate other devotees because we see how rare and precious they are. It's funny, it's amusing to me, having been in this movement for 50 years, how people think that devotees are so homogenous. Right? We all eat the same food, we chant the same mantra, we read the same books, we worship the same deity. It's just like mindless, brainless homogeneity. When in fact, when you get to know the devotees, they are very diverse, aren't they? As many different ways as there are to serve Krishna, there are different people. And in fact, each one of us has some unique way of serving Krishna. But when we get over familiar with the devotees, we may tend to let the modes of passion and ignorance overtake our judgment. We lose perspective how rare and precious the devotees are. And so we start thinking in material terms. Well, you want to do it that way, I want to do it this way. We just had a wonderful seminar in New Vrindavan. This last week, it was a national reunion of Krishna House devotees and students and friends. Shyamananda Prabhu, you remember this seminar by Yadunath Prabhu? So Yadunath Prabhu is a professional comedian in New York. And he gave a seminar on how to use improv for team building. So in team building, in improv rather, the comedians who are going on stage, everyone knows what improv is? And they just come out and make up some amusing skit on the spot. So traditionally in acting, before an actor will go on the stage, the other actors will say a certain blessing. Anyone know what it is? To break a leg. Yeah, it's like, wish you good luck, break a leg. In improv, they say to each other, I've got your back. So when one comedian will say something, the other will say, yes, and. Yes, and. Whatever you said, I accept that, and I'm going to add to it. This is how improv works so well. The players always know yes, and. Never yes, but. When you say yes, but, that immediately negates everything that came before but. Right? We think we're being diplomatic. Yes, Prabhu, but we just negated everything. So yes, and means I accept what you say, and let's build on that. Here's another facet of your idea, another way to look at it. Even if what the other person has said seems very, very impractical. Yes, and we did an exercise like, let's imagine the most fantastic Janmashtami we could possibly imagine. And whatever anyone says, any crazy thing, everyone else then says, yes, and. So we had Janmashtamis on Mars with elephants. The point is, amongst ourselves, if we take this mood of yes, and, you may look at things different than I do, but yes, and, whatever you say, I am going to appreciate and support, and then contribute my idea on top of it. So team building with devotees, these are the kind of things based on respect that we can use to improve our association, to minimize the rubbing of false egos. Another important technique is to learn to ask questions. What is the whole Srimad Bhagavatam based on? Questions and answers. Do we think that Maharaj Parikshit did not know the things he was asking Shukadeva Goswami about? Did he not know? So if he knew, why was he asking? Because he wanted to hear. He wanted to hear. So to improve our relationships amongst devotees, ask questions before drawing a conclusion. We may think the other devotee is thinking something, and we may be totally wrong. But because we're illusion, we have imperfect senses, we make mistakes, we're misunderstanding what the other person is thinking. Some people only get exercise by jumping to conclusions. Questions prevent that. Questions, not just any question, what we call open-ended questions. What is the quality of an open-ended question? Anybody know?
Other person is able to explain in any way he or she live.
Yes, the other person can explain any way he or she wants. How can open-ended questions not be answered?
Yes, sir.
Yes and no. That's the definition of an open-ended. It cannot be answered yes or no. For example, if I say, how are you today? Yes. How are you means I want to understand, I want to hear from you, I want to know what's going on in your life. What's happening? These are ways to stimulate the other person's input. So before assuming that the other person may be thinking this or that, let's ask the question, what do you think about the Janmashtami festival this year? What are your ideas? Open-ended questions are great for this amanina manadena, showing respect, because they automatically express an interest in hearing what the other person thinks. Immediately. What do you think? Help me understand. Srila Prabhupada used to gather his young disciples who would not be eligible for discounts in car insurance. He would gather them around this venerable Vaishnava scholar and guru, and he would say, what is your opinion? This is the idea, what is your opinion? And he would ask each one of them, your opinion, your opinion, your opinion. So this is Vaishnava etiquette. This is Vaishnava Sangha. We show that respect to others by asking them, by understanding, by seeking to understand before we want to make our point known. This is amanina manadena. And the blessing is that we can always think of Krishna. Why do we always think of Krishna? Because we're not disturbed by conflicts with others. We're not preoccupied with dissension. Rather, we're thinking, okay, yes, and how can I work with this wonderful devotee? So these are some points from the ISKCON I want to share. So now I'd like to open it up and ask, what do you think? What are your thoughts, reflections, realizations? What is it that is valuable about the association of devotees to you? Yes.
I think flexibility of the mind is the most beautiful thing you can offer anybody, and it can open the realm of understanding, and you can get to know more about life and understanding of life.
What does flexibility of mind mean?
Not hard and resolute ways of looking at things, perspective of things, having a broad perspective, rather than thinking, yeah, that it has to be like this.
Very
I mean,
good.
in a positive sense.
Yes, it has to be like this. This is a very important point. And a lot of dissension is caused by people insisting it has to be this way. In ISKCON, we used to have chocolate and non-chocolate zones. Chocolate and non-chocolate. Non-chocolate zones. Oh, I have to move. I need to be in a chocolate zone. In the Nectar of Devotion, Rupa Goswami explains that there are principles and details. Principles are inviolable. They must be observed. 4 regulative principles: chanting the holy name, amanina, manadena, dealing properly with Vaishnava. These are principles that cannot be changed. But beyond that, there are so many details. And people will have different perspectives on details. So to get along nicely with devotees, we have to differentiate between principles and details. If somebody is following all the regulative principles and chanting, they must be respected, even if they happen to feel differently about the temple schedule or something than we do. Okay, thank you, very good, very helpful. Any other reflections, any other thoughts on these topics?
From association perspective, I always felt that devotees, just by their presence, sometimes they change your, just observing them changes your perspective of how you should be looking at things. One, it's open-minded, and sometimes we want to do things certain way, again, principle-wise, but could be better way, could have done better. Either I should do better, or I could have done better. So just by observing some senior devotees, the way they deal with each other, it sometimes it just like and that really helps. Just being in the association, you don't have to ask, you don't have to say, it just happens.
Now, what if you're in the association of devotees and you see a younger devotee doing something that you know could be done better in a different way?
I will, before I correct or change, I will see whether I should, or there could be one reason why the person is doing the way he's doing. So I, long back, because of this management reasons, I asked a question: should we correct? And the answer I was given by very wonderful devotee is, first you have to see whether it's your, it's how important it is to correct, or, and also whether it's your adhikar to correct. Because sometimes it's, you think it's right, but we may not be the right person to convey that message.
You should actually be giving this class, because these are such good points. You reminded me of my friend Brahmatirtha Prabhu. Brahmatirtha Prabhu is a Peace Corps worker in India, and he heard about this Swami in Mayapur, and so he went to visit. It was, I believe, it's 1972 or 3, and it was Srila Prabhupada with his first gathering of foreign disciples there in Mayapur, in the birthplace of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, this holy place for Gaudiya Vaishnavas. So there were about 150 devotees visiting. It was their first time there. It wasn't a big public program or anything, just there to be with Srila Prabhupada. And here comes this young Peace Corps worker who knows nothing about Krishna consciousness. So it's 150 preachers and 1 guest. And Brahmatirtha said, everywhere I went, people were saying, you should do this, you should do that, you should do that. He said, pretty soon there were big piles of should everywhere. Srila Prabhupada saw him going through this and called him into his room, just to kind of shelter him from the other devotees who wanted to instruct him. And Srila Prabhupada then said, so do you have any questions? So from that conversation came the book, Perfect Questions, Perfect Answers. So yes, the point is, to be tolerant sometimes means that we have to let other people do things in their own way that might be different from the way that we're doing them. It may be their way is better, we don't know. It may be their way is not as good, we don't know. But they will learn. And is it our adhikar, is it our position to correct them? Usually not. This is one of our principles in getting the Krishna House projects, making the temples inviting places for young people, is to help the older devotees understand it is not your duty to correct them. It is the duty of one person who is their ashram leader. And if you see something wrong the young person is doing, you tell the ashram leader, you don't tell the person. So this is, also if we have not been accepted by the other person, let's just say it's another peer in the congregation, and they're doing something we think is not ideal. Have they asked us to be their mentor? No, then we should probably not correct them. This is what it means to be tolerant like a tree. Right? The relationship, here's the whole thing in a sutra. Relationships are always more important than service. Relationships are always more important than service. Unless there's a fire or some life and death emergency, the relationship is always more important than service. It's not worth making another person upset just to get some service done. Any other reflections, thoughts? Thank you, that was great.
Yeah.
I was thinking how service actually comes from relationships.
Hmm.
Also. And I was reflecting from this discussion how I read how in the beginning, in the 26th Second Avenue, Srila Prabhupada was for everyone, cleaning up after everyone, serving everyone prasadam. He was doing everything. And finally, those relationships thickened. And one place said, Swamiji should know to do all of this. I should know. And one thing
Srila Prabhupada showed us the example. First, build the relationships. Because service is natural, right? It's spontaneous. It is the dharma of the soul. It's not the dharma, is to serve. So when the relationships are based on love, service comes automatically. There is no hierarchy in spiritual life where one person tells the other what to do. There is a cartoon I saw once. May I share that with you? It's a little cartoon in the New Yorker. There's a wise elderly guru with a long beard sitting on top of a plateau in the Himalayas. And then there's a scraggly man crawling up the edge of the cliff, getting up to the plateau. And the scraggly man says, I made my first million when I was 25. And when I was 30, I was the CEO of 3 corporations. And now I've left it all behind. I've come here to the Himalayas, and I want to become the best damn guru in the business. Other thoughts? Yes. Oh, we have a mic over here.
My voice is kind of soft.
The mic is coming.
I like the point where you said when we get too familiar with Krishnas, it's easy to forget the etiquettes and like lose that perspective and how precious they are. So I was just contemplating in like online environments or non-Krishna environments, it's easy to forget that. It's easy to think that, oh, like it's just one thing, it's not that effective. So how do we constantly have that reminder in our mind that we need to treat them with love and care?
Yes, our GPS is service. What is going to please Krishna? What is going to please my spiritual master? So if we have that perspective, then automatically we'll treat others respectfully. One of the, how many here are initiated? Okay. So a number of you've taken the course, the ISKCON Disciples course. One of the first lessons is a quote from Rupa Goswami that you should never reveal 3 things. Do you remember this? You should never reveal your vows, your Ishtadev, your worshipful deity, or your guru. Now, why is that? It's so strange. In ISKCON, the first thing we always ask is, so who are you initiated by? Right? So the reason that stipulation is there about not saying the name of your guru is because we don't want to cause our guru embarrassment by letting people know that he would initiate somebody like me. We should understand whatever we do reflects on our guru. And so online environments, I agree, they're tough. But generally speaking, if we listen more than we talk, we're going to be on a safer ground. And sometimes listening, it means listening to some nonsense. Something we know is just nonsense. Something we have to say yes and to. We remember the example of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu when he was dealing with Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. What did he do? Sat and listened for 7 days. He didn't say a word for 7 days. This venerated scholar of Jagannath Puri, who saw him as a sentimental young sannyasi, he was going to educate him in Vedanta. So for 7 days, Lord Chaitanya, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, sat and listened to this Mayavadi or impersonalist speculator. So after 7 days, Sarvabhauma said, "You just sit there like a dead stone. Are you understanding what I'm saying?" And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "Well, I understand Vedanta perfectly, but your explanations are bewildering my mind." So then Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya said the magic words, "Well, what are your explanations for Vedanta?" So sometimes it's required to listen for some time before people will value our opinion. Therefore, yes, in general, keeping quiet and listening. Krishna gave us one mouth and 2 ears. Jai Shri Shri Radha Gopi Chandra Vallabha. Hari Bol. Okay, it is 2 o'clock. Are there any other last? Yes, Mataji.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate. I'm very grateful for your visit and also appreciate the points that you have shared and enlightened us on certain principles that we can apply in the community and also on a personal level. Yes, I agree to whatever you say. And so, I had a question. In the middle, you mentioned about that we have to be excited and happy when we see devotees. On certain occasions, as we practice and progress in this journey of Krishna consciousness, we do have some hurtful experiences. And we are not happy, but we make certain conscious decisions. One, not to disturb them, not to disturb and care for. I mean, the self-care is also equally important. And also, so we distance ourselves or keep ourselves, a little away. And that can still agitate them. How do we handle, how do we deal in those circumstances? What is the approach for me is that I have to do while Krishna's understanding my emotions and I'm not hurting anybody.
Right, so we're upset with somebody, so the natural reaction is to stay away from that person. We don't want to make an offense. We don't want to criticize this person or chastise them, so we just stay away. And we fester, these feelings fester in our hearts. What does Krishna want us to do? The general etiquette for Vaishnavas is to be what? Straightforward and honest. But how we present things is very important. So I was sharing this morning a technique called the I message. Are you familiar with that? The I message means that we express in a straightforward way what we are feeling without judgment. You go to this person and say, as a result of this situation, I'm feeling this way. And that's the absolute truth, right? That is how we're feeling. The hard part at that point is to zip. We give the verse, but not the purport. I'm feeling this way. Then the other person has 2 options. They may say, you have no right to feel that way. Then we know this is a person to whom we cannot reveal our minds, and we keep a distance. The other person may say, I'm sorry, I did not intend to make you feel that way. We give them a chance to do the right thing. Okay, so the I message is not a you message. You're doing something wrong, or because of what you're doing. But I am feeling this way in our relationship. just expressing, and that's it. So this is a technique by which a devotee can be empowered to be straightforward and to not let the ill feelings fester, which is an offense. It's not only an offense, it keeps us from chanting incessantly, doesn't it? Because it's occupying our mind. We can't get over it. So it's impersonal to think it'll just go away. It is personal to say, here's how I'm feeling. And this is also in our relationship with Krishna. We can say, Krishna, here's how I'm feeling. Anyway, please accept me. Okay. All right, is that helpful?
Thank you so much.
Okay. Oh. One more question? No? I mean, it's your feast.
Thank you so much for a wonderful presentation, too. I had two incidents which came to my mind based on what we just discussed. One is when Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur went for a talk who was the Brahmana versus Vaishnavas. So he approached the philosophy of and. There was another incident where Prabhupada was invited, where all Mayavadis were there, and he asked Gurudas Prabhu to go and speak. And Gurudas Prabhu specifically used the word approach when he compared gulab jamun with the other stuff. And then he is saying that, are they the same for you? Then what is the point? So I just wanted some clarity on that. There has to be some approach where we have to apply word. Not most of the time, no, but
Right.
just thinking loud here.
Right. In other words, yes, Bhaktisiddhanta used the chopping technique, right?
He used the and technique because he glorified Brahmanas first, and then he said Vaishnavas, how they contribute to that, and that's how they were sold out. But in this case, they were upset and they came to Prabhupada, your disciples gave a very graphical example.
Yes.
And he said, I'll chastise. And then he said, by the way, the example you gave was wonderful. So just to understand that perspective.
Right. This is a challenge that we have in our Sangha. How strongly should we present Krishna consciousness to people? Rascals, fools, demons, karmis. So, Palina Parachiyate, we have to see what works. Srila Prabhupada once said, after he was speaking very strongly to some guests, then he turned to his disciples and said, I can say that, you cannot. He said, if I say that something harsh, they'll think, oh, he's just a grouchy old man. Old people and children can kind of go anywhere and say anything. We have to decide, we have to value how much result we're getting from this harsh preaching. Generally, in this, you can get away with it more amongst people who are acquainted with Sanatana Dharma. And it's very difficult to get away with people who are just exploring Krishna consciousness anew. And in any case, it's generally not our duty to speak so strongly. Some of my godbrothers advocate very strong preaching, but the problem is that they will repel as many people as they'll attract or more. And you catch more flies with honey than vinegar. It is the warm, loving mood of acceptance and tolerance that Prabhupada showed on 26 Second Avenue that has worked well for us at the Krishna House Project. So, okay, Haribol. Hare Krishna. May I say something? Okay.
So you just want to talk about
Okay. He was going to do a commercial for me, but he doesn't know the book, so. Gotta know your product, right? Just very briefly, if I may share, Srila Prabhupada's books are the cornerstone, and one of the principles of Krishna consciousness is reading Prabhupada's books. Over the years, I've enjoyed writing some books that are auxiliary, ancillary books to help in the study of Prabhupada's books. So they're in the motif of the Shikshastakam that we did. That is simplified English translations of Sanskrit and Bengali scriptures. So this is a collection of the books I've done over the years. This is Bhaktivinoda Sharanagati, all of his songs about his journey in Krishna consciousness in Bengali in a singable English. You can sing them in Bengali and you can sing in English like this. And this is the Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita that he wrote in Bengali poetry, translated to English poetry for the first time. This is another Bhagavad Gita, which I wrote for the young people in the Krishna house. It's called The Rap of God. It's a Bhagavad Gita in poetic rap. I thought if they could do it with Hamilton on Broadway, we can do it with Bhagavad Gita. So this is the first and second canto, presented in poetry with the same meter as the original. And then the same in the 10th canto. This is my favorite. This is the entire 10th canto, all of Krishna's pastimes in poetic English. And the kids love to hear them. And it's a great way to review, like if you study the Krishna book. And then finally, some original poetry, some Vyas Puja offerings I compiled for Prabhupada over the years with some beautiful art by my godbrother Kaladri Prabhu. So we have these 6 books. They're being printed in India right now. And we're just offering them as a set at cost, which is about $40. And that includes the shipping. So they'll be available in a couple of months. If you're interested in the collection, please give your address to Shamananda Prabhu, and he will convey it to me. No need to pay in advance. We can send with an invoice when they are in print. Okay, we'll ship them to your door, and maybe you'll find that a nice addition to your collection of Srimad Bhagavatams and Chaitanya Charitamrita. Okay? Mahaprasadam ki jai.
Thank you very much for coming. We're blessed by your presence. Let us express our gratitude to Farmington for loudly chanting this very
They don't
much.
fit.
Swami and people to buy these books so that you can have this collection actually. Thank you. Only one announcement. When you come here, actually, especially devotees, you can park your cars in the street from